My name is Jody Renee Adams, and I'm the pastor of Ecclesia Denver.
Hi, I'm Emily. I am a science educator.
I am a scientist, and I work with the sunlight, how the sun affects the earth.
Well, the other day I was thinking about how light has always been this, culturally, we think of it in terms of Christian spirituality as being almost a scary place because it's where everything gets revealed. And we also make it be all about purity and morality. And yet, in traditional Hebrew teaching and in traditional Judeo-Christian teaching, light was always the position of dark, position of our humanity, not necessarily in our good deeds and our bad deeds.
And when I think of light, I think of energy. Light is composed of all of these small particles called photons, and when energy is applied to them, they move, and depending on how fast they move, that will tell you what kind of light you have. And there's all sorts of different kinds of light, right? There's visible light that we see, and it's broken up into different color bands. Depending, each color band represents a different amount of energy, of how fast those photons are moving. But there's also lots of other kinds of light. There's black light, infrared light. There's ultraviolet light. There's actually an entire spectrum of light, of dozens of different kinds.
That's what it means to be the light, is to be luminously lovely. And the hard part about it is that the light is always brighter in the context of darkness. So when we're talking about it in terms of spirituality, there's always that element of the light's always brightest in the places where the world is darkest. Not because the world is bad, but because the world is hurting. So the light is always the brightest. Love is always the most powerful and the most potent and the most overwhelming in the places where people are the most shattered and the most hungry for their own personal stories of redemption. And so to start to think about light and the necessity of darkness then, and the relationship between the two and the dance that they do, and then to think about us as being agents of light, and that we in and of ourselves have the ability to be these luminous.
Light is huge. It gives things colors. Light is also, when we can't quite see it, it's the warmth that we feel. It is when it burns from the UV light, for example. Just our eyes are not quite ready to see it, but it's part of the whole spectrum of light. I am a scientist, and I work with the sunlight, how the sun affects the earth. When the sunlight comes, it's reflected by the clouds or by the surface, or how the rest of the globe then absorbs this energy that comes from the sun, the light. And then how the climate system, the weather system, is responding to this different heating that comes from the light of the sun.
The same way we have to learn to recognize a prism in the sky, or the same way we have to learn to recognize the different ways that the moonlight comes through the windows, because our eyes aren't always trained to recognize how light shines. It's the same way in terms of spirituality, whether it's Christian or Buddhist or Tao or Judeo, anything, you name it, the Muslim faith, we all talk about light, and we all talk about our journey to recognize what it is and to be open to it and to allow ourselves to sink into it a little bit. That we don't always see the light right away, and that sometimes we fear it. And that if we're opening our hearts and our eyes to all that light could be, and to all the possible places it could go, then the capacity and the possibilities are just tremendous, both for our own healing and for the healing of the world. But that's what I think about light.